Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. A former Ripple executive has stated that banks holding XRP is the Holy Grail. Or, as I would call it, the Holy Grail. Get it? You see what I did there? H-O-L-D-Y, Holy Grail. Moon Lambo. Funny. Subscribe. I'm going to talk about that. Also, I've got this story, which is a follow-up to a video that I posted yesterday. This comes from Bitcoinist.com, titled Economist Warns of 1929-like Second Leg Down. Will Bitcoin follow? So interesting what they had to say here. I'm not going to be rehashing, for those of you that watch, don't worry, I'm not going to be rehashing all the content I put out yesterday on this topic, because I went a bit in depth sharing my personal opinion on this, but I can summarize it briefly with all of the additional information, just to state that in my humble opinion, it makes sense to diversify into XRP. But I'm not a financial advisor, and I don't have a financial background, so you shouldn't buy or sell because of anything that I say or write. That would be dumb. Don't be an idiot, Stick. I know you're smart. I see you got a big brain out there. Your forehead's about 3 times too large because you're so smart. I'm impressed. But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And also, if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, you done came to the right spot, son. Go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, and your life will then be complete. So I came across this tweet from All the Way 08, a member of the XRP community. He didn't tag me, but I liked this, so I wanted to share it. He just wrote, ha ha ha, with a bunch of laugh emojis, so it caught my attention. I was like, what is this? And it was this tweet from, who is this? What's the name here? The Cube Collector. And I saw a picture of Tone Vase, and that's another reason it caught my attention. Tone Vase is a notable XRP and Ripple hater. Despises it, calls Ripple and XRP a scam, the whole 9 yards, completely nonsensical. He states these things, but doesn't use logical to land at such conclusions. But, you know, when you're ideologically driven and just, you know, your emotions dictate what you say, well, you know, what can you expect from an individual? You know, to me, I like to form opinions based off of facts. Facts, damn it. But not everybody's that way, right? And so the Cube Collector wrote, this tweet from the Great Tone Vase was from July 8th, 2019, so a year ago. Look at what he says about Chainlink. And so this tweet specifically isn't about XRP, but sit tight. So here you go. So the price of Link was $3.40 then. Don't listen to this fool. And so he tweeted it out, just another S-word coin, this Tone Vase, just another S-word coin of the month. By this time next year, it will be under its initial bid against Bitcoin. They are all scams, including Chainlink. There you go. Bitcoin maximalism at its best. Doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And so even though that was about Chainlink, he talks about Ripple and XRP with enough of a frequency that I was like, okay, this is worth highlighting. So if you're worried about maybe guys like this being correct, in my opinion, no. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Or even if he does know what he's doing, if he's intentionally being deceptive, in my mind, that's perhaps even worse. So hopefully not. All right, so take a look at this. This is a beautiful graphic created, by the way, from XRP Crow. He's the one that does the XRP community posters. And this one was a quote from former Ripple employee Dilip Rao, who retired at the end of December of last year. He was a Ripple employee for, I can't remember how many years. It may have been since 2014, 15, 16. I actually really can't remember, unfortunately, but it was years. And so here's something that he wrote. And this comment, like, you don't typically see this, not exactly from a Ripple employee, but the topic's been discussed, so I have to highlight this. Because I have not highlighted this quote from him on the channel ever. And this quote was from a Blockchain Venture Summit in 2018. But here's the quote from Dilip Rao. First, get banks connected on RippleNet to settle with fiat. Check. Okay, all on board with you. Then, get them to source liquidity using XRP. There you go, all on board. Makes complete sense. Then get them to hold XRP directly, Holy Grail. And then you see that, and you might be like, what? Banks holding XRP? Part of the pitch is that they don't have to hold it. And so it got me thinking, so what would it take for a bank to actually hold XRP, and what would the timeline look like for it? Even if you expect this to happen, how long would it take? And so I'll share with you a couple thoughts on this. First of all, I don't know for sure that it's ever going to happen, other than maybe there's a crypto forward bank out there, and like they started, like their whole thing is, hey, we're a crypto bank. Okay, maybe. Outside of that, if they're going to be holding XRP, they're probably going to be holding it in terms of their custodying it for like a customer. That's fine. That's different from what we're talking about. Okay, we're not talking about them holding XRP on the behalf of a customer either. I'm sure that's coming down the pike, but that's not what we're getting at. We're talking about a bank choosing to hold XRP. Well, think about this. You can make. I'm not convinced this is going to happen. Maybe. I'm not ruling it out. I'm more so saying I don't know, but play with me on this one and tell me what you think about this in the comments. I really would like to know. If a bank is going to hold it, there has to be some sort of reasonable monetary incentive, and I don't suspect that they're going to be playing the role of trying to trade XRP or hold it as some sort of long-term speculative investment. Banks are very conservative. It's outside their business model. I don't suspect that's going to be the case. So if they were to hold it, why would they? Well, if you think about the sending and receiving ends of an on-demand liquidity transaction utilizing XRP as a bridge currency, if you can cut out the middleman. Think about it. You could cut out the exchange altogether, the pool of liquidity with the buying and selling. You could cut that out, and I suppose if you have enough volume, it could suddenly become worth it. Especially if you're a major bank and all you have to do is hold the damn thing. But again, by nature, I don't know that banks would be interested in that. But would things change? Maybe. I'm not completely convinced of that, because even then there's still that risk that is far enough outside the business model of a bank. I'm just not convinced of it, but maybe. And I could still, you can call it the Holy Grail. That's perfectly fine. Or the Holy Grail. HOLDY. but it's possible, but it would be a long time from now, because I don't think that banks would ever, in any sort of big picture way, be comfortable doing something like that unless we're at a point where the frenzy around the asset class has died, and it's maybe perhaps not as volatile, because you can imagine if they hold a stash of XRP to cut out the middleman for their on-demand liquidity transaction, so they're saving money there. But then what if it drops by 80-90% and you're a bank? Yeah, maybe that just negated all the benefits of on-demand liquidity at that point. So I'm just not convinced that it would happen, or if so, anytime soon. I wouldn't say never literally, but man, I am highly skeptical. And again, it could be decades from now. So, but again, the cool thing is, it's not required for on-demand liquidity to really take hold. It's not required for XRP to appreciate in price, because humans determine the price of XRP. It's supply and demand, and if people are confident in the long-term viability of cryptocurrency like XRP, then there you go. So it's not that banks have to hold it, but if there's some sort of additional insight behind Dilip Rao stating that I'm unaware of, he has kept it secret. I have not seen it, but I definitely would love to hear what you guys have to say below. Now a little bit into price action. So XRP sitting at 18.8 cents as I record this. Bitcoin's at $9,269 with the market cap for the crypto asset class, $267 billion. And I want to share with you this tweet from Patty Stash. So he's a guy that's pro XRP and talks about XRP with some amount of regularity, but not just that. His Twitter account, for example, and when he records videos on Twitter, it's about all sorts of stuff. But I just find his takes to be fascinating, generally speaking. And so I wanted to share this with you. He wrote, this XRP chart is looking mighty ripe today. Broke a 2-month downtrend this morning, and after pretty much an entire year of sideways action, it appears to have a very similar setup as it did in 2017. This ties in perfectly with the Ethereum chart breaking out too. So they're acting similarly, which also, by the way, illustrates, individual incidents don't necessarily, but in a general sense, all the charts look the same because everything's following Bitcoin, right? And so this illustrates the nascency of the asset class, but still interesting nonetheless, because again, it's not literally that XRP follows any other cryptocurrency down to the second, the minute, the day, the week, the month, even. So there still is something to technical analysis. From my perspective, it's just more so like, yes, that's true, but if Bitcoin sneezes, then you might need to restart your technical analysis. Just saying. Next, here's a tweet from Crypto Maniac 101. He wrote, XRP has a real chance of hitting 30 to 36 cents on this leg up with profit potential of 75 to 100%. that would be welcome here. As far as the timeline, he drew this up, so he looks at it starting at some point, effectively, well, actually, according to this, like, it's already started, and we'll just see that it would keep ramping up until maybe the beginning part of August. So maybe it wouldn't necessarily literally happen over the next day or two or three or week or whatever, but from what he's charting here, he thinks it's possible that maybe, what would you call this, looking down, maybe 1 to 2 weeks into August. Man, if you're talking about a 100% increase, that would be something. So I thought I'd go ahead and highlight. I like it when people are willing to put their neck on the line and make a prediction. Even though he didn't say definitively it will, just saying, hey, I think this is possible. I still appreciate it. And now this story from Bitcoinist.com. Economist warns of 1929-like second leg down. Will Bitcoin follow? And so there's notable economists, and I covered this in my video yesterday, so I'm not going to go through it again. I'm not going to share the quotes in this video. At least I'm going to try and avoid them. I think I can do that. So then there was this section, though, and this is what I wanted to get to. So what if the stock market really did go down 40%, as this particular economist was citing here? I believe his name is A. Gary Schilling. I should at least give him a credit if we're talking about him here. Where's his name? I think it's... yeah, there you go. A. Gary Schilling. All right. So here's the subheading about when you delve into the crypto asset class, though. All right, and it is, how could Bitcoin respond to a repeat of the 1929 S&P 500 collapse? Which is fun. I was talking about that literally yesterday, so I thought this would be a fun follow-up piece just to share their perspective with you. And they wrote the following. And by the way, I think we're talking about Bitcoin in this case, and I know it's an XRP-centric channel, but, I mean, come on. If you're talking about in this type of time frame, I suspect XRP will still be coupled. It won't be coupled to Bitcoin forever, that's my opinion, but probably over this time frame, yes. So here's what they wrote. Looking back at the second leg down, Schilling warns about a similar V-shaped recovery formed on the S&P 500. This gave investors hope that the carnage was over, but had truly only just begun. Schilling warns of another potential 40% collapse in the stock market. If this happens, it could take the S&P 500 down to around the 2000 level. Indeed. The continued correlation between the stock market and Bitcoin could be disastrous for the cryptocurrency struggling to break out into a bull market. If the asset experienced a second leg down lower than Black Thursday's low of $3,800, it could lead to a greater bear market lower low. Lower than the Black Thursday bottom of $3,800, which would make Bitcoin's 2018 base a logical target. Interesting, so that's their take on it. If you haven't seen my video on this, go ahead and check it out. I put it out literally yesterday, and I just shared my general thoughts on this, and I gave more about the rationale that A. Gary Schilling provided regarding why he thinks that this is quite possible. We're talking about a 40% drop in the stock market. Interesting topic of discussion. But that's it for this video, my friends. Thank you for stopping by. You're the very best. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!